And thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark TV. You know who I am, Dr. Angela Chester. I am so glad that you are here today. You know what I like to do on my show? I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best. Well, I think that's what my guest wants to do as well. Her name is Joan Green, and we are talking about her book, Resilience. Now, you know what I'm going to tell you to do? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we're about to get started. Hello, Joan. Thank you so much for joining me today on Daily Spark TV.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dr. Angela. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before we start talking about your book, I'd love to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to perhaps those few people out there that are unfamiliar with you or your work. So in just a few words, who would you say you are?
That's interesting. I'm a retired person. I'm a widow of over 20 years. I've got family, my 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren, and I enjoy writing my book about life events that have happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love the big family. Now, I know that being an author for many people is something that they have aspired to become since a very early age. Some people, especially on radio, have said, I wanted to do it all my life. Others have said, Dr. Angela, I didn't realize I was going to do this until God told me to do it. With that being said, where do you think you fall? Have you always wanted to be an author?
I hadn't always wanted to be an author, but something had happened in my journey that inspired me to write it down. And being told by many people over the years you need to write your story. And it was after my husband died by suicide that I decided to write after comments that were made at the time, because the awareness of people didn't know anything of how to deal with a family member who had lost somebody by suicide. So I wrote a book on bridging the gap. And then Resilience came out of a comment that was made many years later. We didn't believe you. So I thought, that's another book. So that's why I wrote those 2 books.
I love that you share that answer, because it's so important. I don't think that people always realize how serious or how in the moment people are when we're talking about dealing with life after tragedy, or when something is going on. Many times people say, oh, I wonder why they didn't say anything. But then hindsight in its beautiful 2020 vision, if we drill down, we can see it was that moment when someone was reaching out, or it was that moment that they were trying to share and be forthright. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Now, the title of your book, you said, is out of a comment, and you really took that to heart. And I think it's a quite intriguing title. It's one of those words that you see it on the bookshelf and it makes you kind of stop and pause and see, is this something that I want to pick up? So I have to say kudos on choosing such an awesome title. Now, when you were going through the process of writing the book, would you say that it was difficult in any way, because you were sharing something that's from a personal perspective? Or did you find it in some way to even perhaps be therapeutic and because you were enabling others to get through their process as well?
I think it was more therapeutic, as well as wanting to get the things that I'd learned out to inspire other people to look at and know that each one of us has a lived experience, and through every lived experience that I'd had in my life, I'd learned some things, and I found that I was able to have had this ability to recover from each one. And so when I was writing the book, I was reflecting on that. And that's how I came up with the title at the end of the book. I'd actually written the book and still didn't have a title. And I thought, what was it about my journey? and I realized I had the capacity to recover from difficulties. And I'd learned some things along the way. And I thought resilience was the best word for that.
I like how you said that you have the capacity for recovery. There are so many people that struggle with recovery. They have a hard go at getting through the various stages of grief. Now, of course, I don't expect for you to tell us like the end of the book. As I would say on radio, you have to pick up a copy of the book to see how it ends. But with that being said, talking about those pieces of recovery, how was that process for you? Did you find that people said, you need to get over it, or it's been so many years, it's time to move on? And if so, how did you deal with some of the negative comments?
Well, it was quite interesting. The day of my husband's funeral, I was questioned all the time about what I did and what I didn't do. And it seemed to be I was blamed because of the situation. And I knew that wasn't right. But it was easier for them to look for someone to blame, others to look for someone to blame, than to listen to hear how my journey was. And I recovered from that by I had to say I have a strong faith, and that's what I had to hold on to, was my faith. And from that I just had to, I needed for myself to look at ways of how to deal with that. And it was difficulty. I even remember phoning a counsellor, and I was told to wait 10 months to get through the anger stage. So that was not good. There was no one there that understood from a family point of view about suicide. And it was after that I actually spoke at a suicide prevention conference on the aftermath of suicide from my point of view, and that was quite. And from there, things have changed in this country. So in the last 20 years ago, we didn't have the support then as we have now, and I think it's still changing.
Oh, absolutely. I have to agree with you there. I think that the societies as a whole are starting to be a little bit more open about dealing with how families should deal with suicide. It can be a very difficult place when we're talking about dealing with grief in general, but especially when it comes to suicide. And, I have to put out there that everyone grieves in their own way and in their own time. And one of the best things that we can do, be it that we are counselors, best friends, sisters, or whatever, is just simply be there for the person who is grieving. And that's why I asked that question. So many folks come to me because they say, someone told me it's been a year, I need to get over it and move on. And that's simply just not fair. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Now, when it came to putting your book together, and I asked this question because for so many people, there's a particular way that they see their book in their heads. Now, we have the option of self-publishing as well as using a publishing house when we want to put our work out there. How did you determine which way would be best for you as far as self-publishing versus using a publishing house or using professionals to do the work for you?
I decided to self-publish because it's something that I didn't find support for, and I struggled to find someone who would look at the manuscript, and when I did, I decided to self-publish. It was a bit of quite a journey to get that far, but I'm happy with the way it's going.
Absolutely. And I asked that question because for so many people, Especially when you're telling a very personal story and or poetry, that type where it's really a reflection of where you are in life or your most intimate thoughts or stories. I find that many people are choosing to self-publish because they want for the story to be authentic. They want for the words to be theirs and not changed in any way to please someone else, but instead I'm sharing my heart, I'm sharing my wisdom, and I don't want that to be tampered with or altered in any way. So I can definitely understand that. Well, Joan, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
I'm Joan Green. My book, his name is Resilience. You can copies are available through Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and physical bookstores in California. And you can contact me on authorjoan.com. That's authorjoan.com.
All righty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
I wear a mask because
I wear a mask because it's a tiny sacrifice to protect your freedoms.
I wear a mask because I can help stop the spread of COVID-19 in my community.
I wear a mask because I care about you, even if I don't know you.
I want to keep doctors, nurses, and other essential workers safe.
I wear a mask because I can, but my baby can't.
I wear a mask because I want to feel safe sending my kids back to school. My kids wear masks to keep their friends safe.
I wear a mask because I want you to stay healthy.
I wear a mask because I really want to get a haircut soon.
I wear a mask because I care about the health and well-being of those around me.
I wear a mask because I might not know that I'm sick.
Yo uso una máscara para mi familia y la comunidad.
I wear a mask because I want to keep others safe.
I wear a mask because I want to protect everybody.
I wear a mask because too many people who look like me are getting sick and dying from COVID-19.
I've grown fond of seeing people smile with their eyes. It's a beautiful experience in these times.
Do it for their futures.
Even if you don't have to, I hope you choose to.
Joan Green. This is about my faith and hope in the meaning of midst of adversities. You can get the book from Barnes and Noble, Amazon, or physical bookstores in California. And you can contact me on authorjoan.com.
Welcome to Daily Spark TV. Are you an author with a faith-based book? Be a guest. Serious about your product or service and want to try something new? Sponsor an episode. I see you're ready to get started. So visit drangela.chester.com. Thanks again for watching Daily Spark TV.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark TV. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Joan Green, and we're talking about her book, Resilience. Joan, my next question for you is about the proper audience or the ideal reader for your book. Considering your topic, did you write it in a way that it is a read for everyone regardless of age, meaning that you don't have to be someone who's been married for 15 years in order to read the book? Is it for anyone who is trying to understand better how to deal with what has gone on in their lives as well?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I thought it was would have been for exactly what you were saying. But I had a 22-year-old man pick it up, and he had told me he read the book and he got so much from it as open conversation. And I thought, hey, this is more than I was overwhelmed when I heard that, because I've heard people who have picked it up and telling me this is my story, and excited about it because somebody else can understand what they've gone through when they've talked about it. Others have found bits that were helpful, and others have said it's an inspiration. And so I think depending on, so when I heard about the 22-year-old young man, and I've had people in their 90s read it, so I'm thinking it's a broad spectrum of people, because there's a lot of life experiences in my book, and it's relatable. And so I thought this is, it was very encouraging to hear.
Absolutely. And I can understand that. And like you said, such a wide age range. It is amazing what happens when you are purposed to do a particular thing and you know that is what you are supposed to do. It reaches and touches the hearts of so many. So to me, that's just confirmation that you needed to put that book out there. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier that your faith is one of the things that helped you get through the all of it. Now, of course, not asking, do you go to church every Sunday, or, what denomination do you belong to? Nothing like that. But how did your faith really help you? How did it guide you, or how did it comfort you during such a difficult time?
Well, I look when over the years, when I look back over my life, it was, I've always felt that God loved me, and there was a relationship over the years, and whatever way we look at it, it was my faith is in Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and I think it was the Holy Spirit that comforted me through it, guided me through situations, and when my husband was missing for nearly a week, like it was. The whole step of the way, I can see something was there ahead, going before me and showing me what to do, and it was just incredible. I'm just think I'm so pleased I have that faith, that no matter what the knocks were, that was the thing that held me in good stead and kept me going, kept me focused.
Absolutely. I have found that so many people that I talk to, one of the things that they agree on is that their faith has really helped them through. And it doesn't matter. And that's why I kind of preface the question whenever I ask it by saying, not asking if you go to church every Sunday, not asking which particular church you go to, but it's more just about that personal relationship with God. Has that helped you get through? And so many people say, absolutely. And I've talked to people from around the world of all denominations of the Christian faith. And everyone says, if God wasn't there, I don't know what I would do. So you are so right there. Yeah. Now, as far as advice for someone who may be going through what you have gone through, what was one piece of advice that when you were in the middle of it, when your heart was still at its heaviest, what was one thing that you wish someone would have done or said that could have been that bit of comfort? I know that when I was dealing with breast cancer, having people just say, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you if you need me, was of good comfort to me. What would have been something good for you to hear during that time?
Actually, exactly what you said, because what I found was the comments I'd heard, oh, let her grieve in her own way, and I'd heard people were told not to give me a sympathy card. It was actually quite interesting. So to just have had somebody walk with you, it would have been an amazing thing without judging and just being there with me. That would have been the best thing. But I did find a lady who we'd been friends for many years, who I'd only needed to ring, and we would meet at a coffee shop, and so that meant I got up and got dressed and got out the door, and that was a valuable thing. And she just listened and was there for me, never judged, and that went on for a long time.
I like that you said that it allowed you to do a few things. One, that you had to get up and get dressed and get out of the door. You know, I love that because it's something to look forward to. You know that it's a safe place and that you could just be yourself when you were with her. And I think for so many people, they don't have that. That's someone that they can have a safe place with, but also that getting up and kind of getting back into some form of a routine when your life's just been turned upside down. Yeah. So I hear that. And that was definitely a good thing. I love it. So glad that she was there for you. Yeah. Now, I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit and ask you some questions about author life, if you will. Now, along that same vein about advice, if there's an aspiring author out there who thinks that they too need to share their personal story, or they really just have a really great fiction story that they want to share, but especially those that are writing from a personal perspective, do you have any advice for them as far as stepping out and making it happen with their book?
I think writing it, what I did was put on stages, what happened the first month, 2 months, just put it in files. And then when I was ready to sit down, and over the years, like when I was ready to sit down, I had those things to go back to get the book in some sort of order. Wrote the chapters and then followed it through from there. So it's just putting it together, and then it took about a year to bring it all to fruition. So I spent that time. So it does take time, but and it was very cathartic. I learned a lot about myself in that, and that was and it's I think I became stronger for doing so.
And I can understand how that would be, that having that alone time with your thoughts, but getting it all together and looking back and being reflective upon, I wrote this at month 1 or month 3 or 6 months, and seeing just from a personal perspective, your own words and the growth of where you were in that moment as to where you were when you wrote that. I can definitely see how that was helpful. Now, you mentioned that, and I think that is so important. I know as a counselor, one of the things that I suggest to people is that when they're going through anything is that they journal. It helps us kind of organize our thoughts, and it helps us get through those sticky or difficult times. Did you find that when you were in the moment, the writing, did it help you in any way? Did it bring you a calm or a comfort while you were writing in that moment?
Yeah, yes, it did. Sometimes I could also, when you were talking, I reflected on some of the notes I'd written down, and then I read it again, and then I'd go and burn them. I'm thinking, so there were moments like that as well in it. But keeping the pieces of paper is very worthwhile when you look back and see how far things have come, and it also puts it in some sort of order for sharing it with other people, the process that we go through to come through to the other side, if that's a good way of putting it. Yes.
And it's so funny that you say that, because on social media, so many times we see that post that says, trust the process. And many times people think that that's only in business, but I think that we need to remember that it is in all aspects of our lives that there are these processes that we go through, and we need to trust it and know that it is going to work out right. So thank you so much for saying that. Now, as far as how life has changed for you, and I think that most people will say when they have experienced a trauma and especially a death, that they do learn in one way or another from that experience. So that's my question to you. How has your life changed, or what lesson do you think that you have learned and you've been able to pay forward to someone else to help them get through?
I think the thing I've learned is to share my experience at relevant times, and to listen to other people, and together we can make a difference. And there is a process of just sitting with people and just reflecting and just, yes, so just helping. And I guess the change that in myself is I've become stronger in myself. I've been able to talk about the suicide and the bereavement with people too, and so they're not frightened to talk about their stories as well. So often is I'm finding that people that you hear the word suicide and they back off, or don't want to share or change the subject quickly, and you find that by sharing your story, it opens them up to be able to share their story. And I think that's one of the best things out of it, because and not to keep it hidden, and it brings it out into the open for the person, and to watch somebody else grow it's amazing.
I like that. It allows someone else to grow, and you're able to see that. So true. So true. I love it. I love it. Well, Joan, I have enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your book with us, for sharing your story with us as well, and definitely inspiring others to keep moving forward. Now, one last time before I let you go, though, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
My name's Joan Green. My title of my book is Resilience. You can get the book at Barnes & Noble or Amazon, or any of the bookstores in California. There's physical bookstores. It's available there, and you can contact me on authorjoan.com.
Thank you again, Joan, for being a guest on Daily Spark TV.
Thank you.
And thank you for spending time with us here as well. We hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you to be your best today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Joan Green. This is about my faith and hope in the meaning of midst of adversities. You can get the book from Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or physical bookstores in California. And you can contact me on authorjoan.com.